The Artemis drifted silently at the edge of the Maelstrom Nebula, its matte black hull humming with the subdued thrumming of quantum drives on standby. Inside the observation deck, floor-to-ceiling transparasteel panels looked out on a kaleidoscope of violet and emerald gases, coalescing into luminous filaments that stretched across space like a cosmic spider's web. Admiral Serene Voss stood alone before the viewport, her uniform crisp and unblemished, a stark contrast to the chaos she anticipated. In her mind, she replayed every briefing, every contingency plan, every diplomatic overture that had brought humanity to this precipice. Behind her, Envoy Daniel Reyes paced the deck, a former UN colonial envoy turned reluctant diplomat. Reyes had never envisioned his career culminating in an intergalactic trial, or worse, a death sentence. His dark hair fell in unruly waves across his forehead, and the olive-green eyes that had once sparked at academic debates now shone with anxious intensity. He paused at the rim of the deck, staring out at the silent expanse. "I never thought I'd actually go through that wormhole," he confessed, voice low enough that only Voss could hear. "It feels like stepping off a cliff. Better to leap with purpose than cling to the ledge in fear," Voss replied without turning. Her tone was steady, but Reyes could see the tight set of her shoulders. She'd seen war up close, enough to know the stakes. "Remember what you carry with you. Every hope of Earth's message, every apology we refuse to frame as capitulation, every promise of peace we intend to keep." He nodded, adjusting the silver and cerulean emblem on his chest, a stylized earth cradled by olive branches and ringed with the motto Concordia in Diversitate. It was the first human emblem ever blessed by the Unified Nations Council and the Colonial Accords Authority, now personally entrusted to him. To the Galactic Council, it would be his only defense. Lieutenant Mwangi's voice crackled over the comm link. "Admiral, Envoy, wormhole stabilizer at 87%. We'll hold pattern until we're ready for you." The holographic timer hovering above the console blinked in synchronized beats. "Wero 25. Sor 0 10. Darrow 3. "Ready?" Voss asked. Reyes inhaled, lifting his chin. "As ready as I'll ever be." The Artemis's engines pulsed, the blue-white flicker of tachyon coils igniting in sequence. The observation deck lights dimmed, replaced by the soft luminescence of the wormhole aperture forming ahead. It swirled like liquid metal, rippling with gravitational eddies that beckoned and warned in equal measure. When they crossed the event horizon, Reyes felt time stretch and splinter. The static rush of energy reverberated through his bones. Then, as abruptly as it began, the sensation ceased. He was standing in a vast crystalline hollow, illuminated by ambient psionic light that seemed to emanate from the walls themselves. The air, or whatever passed for atmosphere here, hummed with thoughts and emotions not his own. Floating above, a molten core were 12 levitating chairs, each carved from alien crystal and emblazoned with the sigils of the Council's founding species. Around them arched a dome of living light, its interior fractals shifting to reflect the collective mind of the assembly. The floor, if it could be called that, was suspended platforms of transparent garnet, connected by sightlines rather than corridors. Reyes swallowed. "The Chamber of 7 Moons," he whispered. "All 12, yet they sit above a world of molten judgment." "Charming," Voss inclined her head. "Focus on the moons, Envoy. Let their light guide you." He advanced, each step met by the soft chime of anti-gravics. When he reached the center of the circle, a column of light descended, forming a dais just large, enough for one man. He stepped onto it, the platform rising to place him at eye level with the Council. 12 gazes, some eyeless, some multifaceted, some glowing with inner fire, fell upon him. The Primarch, Vossar, shimmered into form. Above the dais, a being of pure luminescence, its contours indistinct, its presence both comforting and inexorable. "Human Envoy," Vossar intoned, its voice a convergence of 12 harmonies. "You stand before us to answer for your species' trespasses. Speak your truth." Reyes steadied himself. Drawing upon every ounce of resolve, He began the I presentation he had rehearsed 100 times in simulators. Esteemed Primarch, revered members of the Galactic Council, on behalf of Earth's 7.5 billion souls, I extend our hand in peace. We come not as conquerors, but as seekers of friendship and unity. Yes, our settlement on Proxima B was imperfect, our terraforming damaged ecosystems you rightfully value, but it was born of necessity, to save our people from a dying homeworld. We regret the collateral harm. As he spoke, hollow images blossomed around him. Verdant fields reclaimed on Europa, healing domes on Titan, joint research stations on Europa's subsurface oceans, humanitarian fleets delivering relief to the Zelexian refugees. He spoke of vaccines, against the Moran plague of shared quantum computing breakthroughs, of Earth's commitment to outlawing weapons of biopsionic devastation. A murmur ran through the chamber. Some counselors inclined forward, others remained impassive. In the eerie half-light, Reyes pressed on, weaving science and sentiment into a tapestry of humanity's best and worst attributes. When he concluded, the silence was thunderous. For a heartbeat, the only sound was the reverberation of Vosar's presence. Then Vosar spoke again, its tone unreadable. Your words paint a noble vision, Envoy, but visions do not absolve deeds. The light around Vosar dimmed to a steely gray. The evidence of unlicensed terraforming, the strafing of alien wildlife reserves, cannot be undone by rhetoric. The Galactic Charter demands accountability. Reyes felt the air grow cold. He braced himself for what would come next, knowing that whatever the sentence, the consequences would ripple across the stars. And in the spinning nebula outside, the Artemis's engines held them poised at the brink of war or peace. The verdict would decide which path humanity would walk. Daniel Reyes felt every nerve in his body ignite as the crystalline dais lifted him higher, centering him within the iridescent dome. From his vantage point, he could see, know, feel, the Council's collective mind-lick energy flowing through the fractal walls. Each counselor's voice reverberated as thought echoes rather than spoken words, and 1,000 simultaneous impressions swirled around him. Curiosity, suspicion, disdain. Ahead, the Primarch Vosar's radiance pulsed in measured cadence. Around it, the 12 chairs glowed with species-specific hues. The Quarry's amorphous violet, the Krath's stony red, the Sierra's opalescent teal. One by one, each representative focused psionic eyes on the human envoy, evaluating him not just as an individual, but as the living embodiment of Earth's entire civilization. A chill swept through the chamber as Vosar's silent command rippled outward. Hollow panels displayed the Council's dossier on Proxima B, satellite imagery of scorched valleys, deforested blue-green plains, and clusters of displaced indigenous fauna left adrift. The Sierra delegate, her slender form almost translucent, channeled the sorrow of the ravaged ecosystems, a sorrow so palpable it made Reyes's throat constrict. Drawing on every lesson he'd ever learned, Reyes summoned humility. Honored. Council, he began, I do not stand before you to challenge your evidence. It is irrefutable, but I ask you to understand our plight. Earth's atmosphere collapsed under centuries of industry and war. Proxima B was our last hope to preserve not only our species, but the knowledge and culture we cherish. He swept, one arm wide, and the holofield shifted to show images of Earth's pale blue forests choking beneath acid rain, of oceanic dead zones stretching from pole to equator. The Krath representative, his horn-crested head lowered in silent judgment, unleashed a thought staccato. Self-preservation does not excuse genocide. The word struck Reyes like a physical blow. He searched for reason in their reptilian eyes but found only the cold logic of a hunter judiciary. Before he could respond, Vosar's luminescence fragmented, projecting the testimony of the Zelkor Collective, a smaller council species whose mining rights on Proxima's mineral-rich moons had been overturned at Earth's insistence. There, delegates floated into view, 6 crystalline orbs that pulsed with sign language translations of legal briefs, each phrase laced with indignation. The orbs spun slowly, then converged to form a single echoing pronouncement. Humanity dismissed our appeals. You acted unilaterally and without remorse. Reyes swallowed hard. Every syllable he'd prepared now a fragile reed against a gale. Summoning. Courage, he countered. We are prepared to negotiate reparations, shared governance of the moons, even joint environmental restoration, if you will but grant us the chance. His voice rang out raw with desperation. For a moment he glimpsed hesitation. The quarry delegates drifted inward, their faceless expressions unreadable. The Sierra's teal glow dimmed in sympathy, but the Krath's crimson glare intensified, and Vossar's form recomposed into an obsidian black silhouette. Finally, the Primarch's voice echoed through Reyes's mind, cold and immutable. Your terms come too late. The Charter demands consequence for first offense. A ripple of psionic force undulated across the chamber floor, extinguishing the dais' glow. Judgment! Your life ends here and Earth's sovereignty is revoked. Let all who witness this know that the Charter is absolute. Reyes's heart thundered. He opened his mouth to plead once more, but the crystalline walls shuddered with the weight of irrevocable decree. As the chamber's light contracted into a single focused beam, Daniel Reyes braced himself, and in the reflection of the molten core below, saw the last hope of his world flicker and die. A single pulse of searing light tore through Daniel Reyes's chest, as though the very fabric of his being had been incinerated by pure will. Time unraveled around him, shards of sight and sound, Voss's hand reaching out, the Council's, crystal spires shattering into psionic shards, his own scream swallowed by the void. Then darkness. On the Artemis's bridge, the ambient hum of the engine stuttered into abrupt silence. Admiral Serene Voss stared at the hollow projection before her, heart pounding as the final frame of the Council's transmission froze on her screen. Daniel Reyes's emblem, flickering into static, and beneath it a single word in archaic Galactic, high tongue, executed. A low groan rippled through the bridge crew. Lieutenant Mwangi's fingers hovered above her console, eyes locked on the dead dais. Admiral, he's gone. Voss clenched her jaw. The roiling hues of the Proxima system glinted off her uniform's metals, each one a testament to battles, long past, and now another name would be added. Daniel Reyes, Martyr of Earth. She took a steadying breath and keyed the Earth Defense Network uplink. Across light years and quantum relays, her voice crackled into every Senate chamber on Earth, Mars, Titan, and the outer enclaves. This is Admiral Voss of the UNS Artemis. Envoy Reyes has been executed by the Galactic Council. I repeat, executed. In the marble halls of Earth's United Nations Assembly, the broadcast erupted on every holoscreen. The UN Secretary General's office fell into stunned quiet before he rose, shoulders rigid. His normally calm voice trembled. They have murdered our diplomat. This is an act of war. Across the table, Speaker Aiko Tanaka of the Mars Assembly, her red dust hair tied in a tight braid, slammed a fist against the polished surface. The Council's judgment is nothing but a death sentence for diplomacy. We cannot negotiate with murderers. From the cold chamber of the Arctic enclaves, Chancellor Elena Kirov's visage shimmered onto the central screen, frost crystals dancing at her shoulders. Her tone was measured, yet ice-cold. Council law be damned. We launch Annihilation. Protocol Alpha at 0600 GMT. All fleet assets are to assume attack posture, awaiting coordinates. Behind them, Earth's populace watched in horror and rage. Pan-galactic news feeds cut to live footage of civilian centers lighting up with red triangular warning symbols. Streets once filled with hope for first contact, now echoed with the roar of war sirens. Back on the Artemis, alarms blared as the fleet-wide alert pulsed through every sublight freighter and dreadnought. Holographic schematics of wormhole junctions, Council defense arrays, and vulnerable supply lines flickered into existence. Admiral Voss stood at the command dais, voice unwavering despite the tumult. Helm, set course for Council space lanes. 7 and 8. Weapons officers prepare photon lances and plasma turrets. Communications. Broadcast our declaration. By order of Earth's Triune Council, all Council vessels, military or civilian, are now legitimate targets. As the fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the rim of Council territory, the void ahead exploded in a symphony of light. Photon volleys carved arcs of brilliance across crystal shields. Missile swarms bloomed like mechanical flowers, their warheads scorching through anti-grav defenses. In the distance, the Council's battle-forged guard unleashed psionic storms that distorted the very vacuum of space. In the midst of chaos, Voss allowed herself a single thought for Daniel Reyes, his earnest eyes, his unwavering faith in dialogue. She imagined him standing on that dais pleading for mercy that never came. A silent vow crystallized in her mind. His sacrifice would not be in vain. As the first Council cruisers disintegrated into pyres of shocked crystal, Earth's new war had begun. Across the galaxy, worlds once allied with the Council reconsidered their loyalties as renegade broadcasts revealed suppressed Council atrocities. On Proxima B's scarred surface, refugees cheered when human gunships roared overhead. Even some Sierra envoys, moved by Reyes's courage, dropped their opals of neutrality and joined the fray. But in every human heart, a question burned. Could annihilation ever birth peace? Or would vengeance only sow darkness deeper than any Council chamber? In the crimson glow of battle, humanity answered with the only language the Council had understood: overwhelming force. And so, with blood on the Council floor and fire in the void, the war for galactic justice had begun. The Council's homeworld, Verical, hung like a bruised moon against the black canvas of space. Its surface was a tapestry of obsidian spires and jagged crystal forests, once the seat of knowledge and judgment, now bristling with anti-air turrets and psionic intercept arrays. Atop its highest plateau stood the Citadel of Whispers, the neural archive where every confidential counselor thought and secret treaty had been etched into living crystal. Admiral Serene Voss watched through the Artemis's forward sensor viewport as the first waves of Earth's fleet descended. Carrier groups flanked sleek frigates. Dreadnoughts wheeled into position like silent colossi. Plasma lances arced across the void, tearing through the Council's defensive shields. The hiss of disintegrating crystal and the cold flare of ion exhaust became a grim symphony heralding humanity's wrath. "It's now or never," Voss murmured, voice steady over comms. "Captain Roy, you have the point team. Infiltrate the Citadel, retrieve the archives, and broadcast everything. The galaxy needs to know the Council's lies." Over the Tacticom link, Captain Amina Roy's image flickered into view. Her Martian-bred features were set in resolve, her crimson uniform stained with the dust of Proxima's surface still clinging to her boots. "Understood, Admiral. Bravo Squad standing by at Grid 12. We move on your mark." With a curt nod, Voss triggered the assault mark. Below, a squadron of drop cruisers pierced Verical's stratosphere. Magnetic grapplers bit into the crystalline cliffs, disgorging armored infantry clad in adaptive camo. Amina Roy led from the front, plasma carbine at the ready. They sprinted through fractured galleries, shadows dancing across walls that pulsed with ancient memories. At each junction, Psyward sentinels flared into existence, floating orbs of pure thought, lancing bolt after bolt of corrosive energy. Bravo Squad countered with nanopulse grenades that shattered psionic cores, their shards tinkling like broken glass. The air crackled with static. Every footfall on the polished floor echoed with the weight of history being torn apart. "Main, vault ahead," whispered Sergeant Malik, scanning a hollow map projected from his wrist console. The door was an interlocking lattice of crystal prisms, each facet keyed to a counselor's mind signature, except one, the contested logs of Vossar itself. Roy laid a magnetic charge and stepped back. 3, 2, 1. The prisms fractured, exploding inward. A low moan surged as they crossed the threshold. Inside the vault was a cathedral of data. Crystalline murmurs drifted like dust motes. At its heart, a pulsing obelisk, the Council's master archive, emitted tremors of buried truths. Roy approached, planting a psionic uplink spindle at its base. Link established. Downloading now. Suddenly, the vault door slammed shut. From the shadows unfurled a council sentinel, a hulking construct of living crystal and servo-augurs, its single eye burning with theatrical indignation. It surged forward, flinging shards like razor clouds. Bravo Squad opened fire. Roy dodged a lethal beam and fired a shoulder-mounted micro-torpedo, the explosion shaking the chamber. Archive at 60%, Malik reported, voice tight. But we've got hostiles inbound, multiple. Roy gritted her teeth. Hold them off 5 more seconds. She spun, drawing a plasma sidearm and unleashing controlled bursts that seared the Sentinel's limbs. Sparks of psionic energy sputtered and died. With a final crack, the archive uplink chimed completion. Roy hit the broadcast override. Holographic projectors flared across Veracle's sky, then beamed through every comm satellite in the quadrant. Documents, treaties, and crystal-etched confessions of genocide, bribery, and cover-ups. The centuries of Council facade shattered in a heartbeat. Outside, Council defense turrets ground to a halt as their operators, once loyal psionic acolytes, stared in disbelief. On distant worlds, millions watched the revelations unfurl. The Kessari slave campaigns, the suppression of Zalexian culture, the orchestration of planetary purges. Alliances cracked, systems long under Council sway declared neutrality or outright rebellion. In the Citadel's foyer, the Sentinel's fragments faded into starlight. Bravo Squad regrouped, breathless but victorious. Roy keyed her comms. Admiral Voss, archive secured and broadcast. Council unity collapsing. You should see the fallout. Voss allowed herself the smallest of smiles. Outstanding work, Captain. Begin exfiltration. We'll cover you. She turned to the bridge crew as alarms shifted from red to amber. Humanity has struck the Council at its heart and revealed its rot. Days later, Earth's flag rose. Above the shell of the Citadel, a makeshift dais of salvaged crystal bore the banner, silver globe encircled by olive branches, now revered as the symbol of a species that refused subjugation. Survivors from a dozen liberated worlds gathered, Krath veterans who'd watched their honor besmirched, Syra envoys moved by truths, and countless others who yearned for a justice beyond vengeance. Admiral Voss stepped forward, voice echoing in the hushed plaza. We did not seek this war. We sought to be heard, to be held accountable. When the Council executed our envoy, they forced our hand. But when we struck back, we did not abandon hope. Today, we claim not only victory, but the promise of a new alliance, one built on transparency, mutual respect, and the hard-won lessons of our shared past. As she spoke, holographic images of Daniel Reyes flickered across the crystalline spires. His earnest face, his silver emblem, and beneath it, his final words, transmitted in the moment before the psionic blade fell. Let this be the end of war, or the beginning of a new peace. A wind of psionic resonance swept the crowd, carrying his plea across every mind. Tears glistened in alien eyes. Even the Primarch Vosar, now a fractured remnant of its former self, hovered at the edge of the assembly, its light dimmed but no longer cold. In that solemn dawn, as battered fleets repaired their hulls and scarred planets tended their wounds, a fragile accord took root. A convocation of free worlds formed to replace the Council, a galactic conquered where every voice, human or alien, would hold equal weight. And though the memory of blood-stained crystal would never fade, the hope born from sacrifice shone brighter than any warship's flare. Across the void, on distant outposts and hidden refuges, survivors whispered the name of the envoy who had given his life so that countless others might live in truth. And in every rising sun they carried forward his vow, that even from the ashes of annihilation, true justice, and with it, a lasting peace, might yet arise.